The Spirituality Now podcast is sponsored by Delaflor Teachings International, a spiritual and systemic coaching and consulting company with the mission to help individuals, businesses, and corporations create brilliant futures through sustainable transformation. Also sponsored by the Network for Human Empowerment, a philanthropic TV network that serves Spanish-speaking communities with free, conscious education aimed to empower individuals to become the best versions of themselves. And our podcast producer, Ascend Media, Authority Syndication, delivering premium video marketing, podcast production, and social syndication.
Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast, a podcast committed to supporting you in your journey to life mastery and personal enlightenment. Welcome to the Spirituality Now podcast. I am your host, Yvonne de la Flor, and we have an incredible guest today, a guest that for me, with her modeling, with her teachings, with what she has actually accomplished in the world, has been very important on the way that I have chosen to upgrade my life, elevate my life, and the way I've chosen to serve others and support others as well. But before I introduce her to you, it's a her, it's a she, and I'm super proud that it's a woman. And I want to remind you that our podcast is a philanthropic podcast. I didn't want anyone to sponsor us. I've gotten, so many requests. Can you promote this brand? I don't even know the brands. Or can you sell this? And then we will help you have more likes, help you have more engagement. Anything that we have done in my company and our teams, we focus on lives, not on likes. We focus on being able to support and empower others instead of just being famous. I'm zero an influencer, and I don't think I'll ever be an influencer, but I'm an in-flow essencer. I'm really focused on flow. I'm really focused on empowerment and on hopefully doing what is right. I will never know it until, I see the results in other people that I want to see. But it's a philanthropic podcast, so we invite you to subscribe, to share it, and to, actually leave us your comments, leave us your feedback, what you like, what you didn't like, and your feed forward. What do you want us to speak more about? Who would you like to have in the show? I have incredible friends that are incredible leaders that I am honored to learn from and to invite to the podcast for you. So with that said, really quickly, shout out to Ascend Media. They are our producers. It's Authority Syndication that are really focused in ethical media, in conscious media. Nowadays, everybody can purchase an audience. Nowadays, everybody can say they are the best, or et cetera, in the world. We wanted to keep it, not only real, but we want to keep it like what really life is, that you got to earn the right, build foundations. I'm such a believer of the bamboo theory, the bamboo wisdom teaching, which means the best bamboo in the world grows first 4 years inside the earth. It doesn't grow until after 4 years, and it grows as the strongest bamboo. So that's my intention. It doesn't matter to me if it takes us 10 years to grow the podcast into a good, in a good number of audience, but we rather do what is right. So, kudos to Ascend Media for producing us and for our sponsors, which is me. It's me, my company, and my team. That's all. So we remain philanthropic. Anywho, so we are going to start introducing you to our incredible guest. And one of the things I want to tell you is this is an incredible woman. And I was surprised when we were doing the research of her biography, that the books that are these books are not only bestsellers, they've changed the lives of thousands of people all over the world. And I was kind of like, micro upset. I know this spirituality, but I'm not it is not the typical spirituality thing, This is as real as possible. And I was a little upset to see that her bio was so little when she has a body of work that is extraordinary. This is how it goes. For more than 30 groundbreaking years as a sports agent and best-selling author, mega bestseller, okay? Miss Shari Wenk, our guest, has represented sports celebrities and journalists in management, marketing, publishing, speaking appearances, brand and content development, media relations, and social media. One of the first women to dominate the sports marketing industry. She has negotiated deals for her clients in excess of $500 million. I think that now it's even more, that number. Since launching the SLW Agency in 1988, Shari has worked with such Hall of Famers and legends as Tiger Woods, Earl Woods, Tim Grover, Terry Bradshaw, Walter Payton, Randy Johnson, Nolan Ryan, Jackie Joyner-Kersee, Joe Theismann, Skip Bayless, Joe Garagiola. I mean, the list is unbelievable. And countless more sports stars and award-winning journalists. And the winning aspect is very important for this podcast. She is the co-author of the international, I'm going to say it, bestseller Relentless, From Good to Great to Unstoppable with Tim Grover. She's also the co-author of the bestseller, New York Times bestseller, Winning. An incredible book. I have it here. We've read it like a couple of times. My son is in the second round of reading it. He's homeschooled. It's The Unforgiving Race to Greatness. And she has ghost greeting a dozen celebrity bestsellers or more. She's a proud mom of 3 humans and several dogs. I don't know if she has a cat, but even if not, she's an adoptive mother of a cat. She and her husband are based in Chicago, and she is as real as you can get, and as honest when the topic related to winning comes to the world. So after my rant, I'm going to hand the microphone to our guest, Ms. Shari Wenk. Welcome, Shari.
I'm exhausted just listening to all of this. Thank you very much. When you say it all that way, it sounds like I've done a few things. So thank you for having me here today to talk.
Yes. And Shari, you're the first one that says I'm exhausted after hearing that. So this is true spirituality for me. When we are real, when we are honest, when we don't hide who we are, for me, that's illumination. That's enlightenment. This podcast is called Spirituality Now for a reason, which is, just be who you are. So Shari, to begin, please share with people, you are an incredible, woman in business. How did your sports, how did you end up in being in sports? Please start there, because a lot of women they are listening to the show, and sometimes they stop their dreams because they think, oh no, I'm going to go to a business that is only meant to be for men. So where does Shari start in her journey of winning, relentless winning?
So I never intended to be in sports at all. I grew up around no sports. I didn't play sports. There were no sports in my family. There were no sports in my house. My father was not a sports fan. And I actually began my career in book publishing, working on a variety of different types of books for a publisher that wanted to do more sports books. And one day the publisher said, we really should be doing more in this sports category. Does anyone want to take control of that? And I was very young. I was 23 at the time, new into the business, looking for opportunities. And before I could even stop myself, I don't think I was intelligent enough at the time to think, oh, this will never work, which is what, had I thought about it, I would have said, this will never work. I said, I'll do it. I can do this. And as the words were coming out of my mouth, I was thinking, I have no idea what I'm doing. And so I then thought about it and said, well, I'm going to have to figure this out now. And went back and started looking at sports related books and how could I make this happen? And really dug in on my own, because anybody I talked to about it said, you're crazy. You can't do this. You don't know what this is about. And I said, well, I'm going to figure this out. And it led to my very long belief that you have to put your hand up and you have to try things that you would not be comfortable with. You have to put yourself in situations that are uncomfortable to you and see what happens. You can always reverse course. You can always stop. You can always pause recollect your thoughts and think, yeah, I'm not doing this the way I had planned to do it. But if you follow the same path as everyone else, you will be like everyone else. And I don't know how many people listening to this want to just be like everyone else. I know you don't, Yvonne, and I know I don't.
Yeah, we're just for you to know, we're already making a lot of notes, the team and myself. And I really feel that what you just shared, it's what life is meant. It's all about, to figure out your way. And I love what you're saying, because in a way you're saying, look for the pressure, which is a main premise of both the books that you co-author with Tim Robert, right? Relentless and Winning. Look for the pressure, figure it out, be who you are. Don't do things as everybody else, because as soon as you do things as everybody else, where are you? You cease to exist. And really the reality of life is we came here to experience all that we are. And you have an incredible premise, and that's how we're naming the podcast, that says do everything. So in a moment, I'll ask you about that. So when you started and you figure it out, I love that you took a leap into the unknown. You said, I love that they ask you who wants to control this area of the industry. I mean, that's a powerful call to action, right? That only a woman could take. No offense, anybody else hearing. But so you take that call to action, and what are the first challenges in this pressure, in this pressure system of figuring it out your way through a new market, right? What were the first challenges that you had to face and break through in your path?
Well, the first challenge was that I was very young and very inexperienced. So it's not like I had decades of history and results behind me. I was new and I was doing something new. And the second, which was more obvious even than the first, was that I was the only female in that field at the time, trying to work with athletes and sports journalists on books. It was just not done. And there weren't that many people doing it to begin with, and there were no women. And so I was very fortunate enough at the time to have my boss. This is before I started my own business, which is what has carried me now for the last 30 years. But in those first 5 or 6 years, when I got into the business, I had a boss that was really blind to gender, to age. He didn't care. He wanted to see results. And so he dealt with me on an even playing field as he did with anybody else. He didn't care. And it just happened to be that the first 2 projects I worked on were huge successes. Because in sports, you're a success. If the thing you're covering is successful, the project will be a success, right? If you're working on something about a winning team or a winning athlete and they win, that's really good for your project. And so I had great success with that twice in a row at the very beginning. And suddenly I was like, everybody was coming to me to say, we want you to do this project for us. We want to work with you. We want to work with you. I suppose it would be the same as, having a really successful business, a successful store, a successful mortgage company, a successful real estate practice, auto dealership, whatever you do. And people see that you're very successful and they want to be part of that. So my biggest challenge, aside from being young, which I could overcome that, was people wondering, well, who's this girl? Who's this young woman doing this, and not taking me seriously at the very beginning. But all I had to sell them and to prove was my actions and my results. And I was consistent. I was hardworking. I was really hardworking. And I delivered. I delivered on what I said I was going to do. I was serious about my business. I didn't let my age be like, well, I'm so young, I don't know what I'm doing. I figured it out. And I watched people that I admired and just watched. I didn't call them. I didn't say, teach me. I just watched to see how things were done successfully. I made a lot of mistakes, because we all should make mistakes, because that's how we learn. And I wasn't afraid of it. And I thought, well, the worst thing that'll happen is this will be a disaster, and I'll go back I'll do something else.
I love that. I'm
a huge believer in, being willing to